Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to Global TV. The program is Inside Today on Global TV, and I am Queen Agaba. Many thanks for joining us. Today, very recently, Funsho Doherty, the 2023 governorship candidate and the Action Democratic Congress Lagos State, criticized the governor of the state over the Public Procurement Award in the second and third quarters of 2023, highlighting a number of contracts for further scrutiny. In a post on X, Doherty wrote an open letter to Sanwo-Olu appealing for the judicious use of public funds, especially in the face of the current economic reality. According to him, the approval of 2 billion naira for rechargeable fans, lights and fridge for the office of the deputy governor, as well as 18.5 million naira awarded to the office of the chief of staff to the governor for the supply of 2,000 chickens across local government areas of the state calls for further explanation. Other awards include new bulletproof vehicles, over 440 million naira for the office of the chief of staff, and 531 million naira for the renovation of an Anglican church. The governorship candidate also questioned why the state will be renovating a religious center with taxpayers' money. He also questioned the allocation of 12.4 billion naira for the consultancy of the Lagos Mega City project and construction of bus corridors in selected locations across the state. Joining me on the program to discuss this and related instances is Mr. Jide Ojo, a development consultant and public affairs analyst. Many thanks, sir, for joining us on the program. So, Mr. Jide, what do you make of all of this criticism, call out, and what do you make of this generally?
Well, it's very disheartening, very unfortunate, and quite reprehensible that in a situation where many Nigerians are living below poverty line, where we could not afford to have a meal in a day, where we have 133 million Nigerians suffering from multidimensional poverty, where about 40% of Nigerian youths are not gainfully employed. You have this kind of ostentatious lifestyle by our political leaders. And this is actually the issue I engaged in my column in The Punch yesterday. Because I feel that we cannot continue to blind our eyes or close our eyes to these so shenanigans of the political class. It is quite unfortunate that we have a party that calls itself a progressive party that is spending stupendously to indulge and pamper its political class. Um, the governor has come out, governor of Lagos State came out to say that there are some typographical error because of the Excel sheet that was used to prepare the document. But I think that is just hiding behind the needle. The truth is that government across the states have been engaging in profligacy and ostentatious lifestyle. And it is not only in Lagos, we have had this scenario play out even in Benue State, in Oyo State, in a host of other states where information has come out about the ostentatious, budget and lifestyles of our leaders. However, whatever blame you may want to heap on the governors, what is happening at the federal level is worse. I don't know, Queen, if you read what is published in the Punch of today. where information is out that the 210 billion naira that was initially earmarked for 35,000 naira wage award to workers has been slashed to 110,000, which means that 100 billion had been removed and put in other areas of budget. That is what average federal civil servant who was looking forward to as a way to cushion the effect of the removal of fuel subsidy. But what has happened now is that rather than reducing their own ostentatious lifestyle, the federal and state governments are rather living large. How could you uh, budget 1.5 billion for procurement for the office of the First Lady of Nigeria? This is not a constitutional body. It's not known to the Constitution. There is no legal backing for the office of First Lady. Yet, you have 1.5 billion earmarked for procurement of vehicles and other purchases for the office of the First Lady of Nigeria. Look at the humongous sums of money they are spending to renovate the presidential lodge and the vice presidential lodge, building new structures. And on top of all of this, Queen, we have 5 billion plus spent on buying a presidential yacht, even though they have renamed it in the revised supplementary 2.17 billion trillion budget. They have renamed it from being a yacht, but it's still the same amount they are using to procure this yacht. So when you have that playing out at the federal level, what do you expect the state governors to do? Like I said in my column in the Punch, it is the front horse that the back one used to pace. It is what the federal is doing that the state is also copying. In the case of Lagos State, you have 47 million being used to procure portraits of Mr. President for distribution into all the ministries, departments, and agencies in Lagos. 47 million. How much does is a unit cost of that portrait? And it's not like there are different pictures. Only one picture's duplicated and framed. And it's usually the 5x8 size. And you are spending 47 million for distribution of a presidential picture. If you compare what obtains in Nigeria to what obtains in other climes, you will know that we are not yet ready for serious governance in this country. But let me allow you to ask your questions.
Okay. It is quite sad that such ostentatious budget is put into very irrelevant, not so relevant as to say things. But at what point, how do we, like I read in your column, politics ordinarily should be a call to serve. I mean, coming to serve shouldn't be such so much of a big deal, and I mean a torso. So much is required in terms of money, in terms of time, in terms of valuable resources. I mean, to context for an election, before you even get in the election form, there's a form of interest, and then you proceed to, I mean, it's exorbitant. At what point do we now begin to hold our leaders accountable? Do we now begin to hold public office holders accountable? How do we even hold them accountable?
So the truth is, I have no sympathy for whoever has put himself forward to contest elections. Life is all about risk taking. When you win, as I pointed out in the opening paragraph of my article yesterday, it's a zero-sum game. It's a winner takes all. The moment you win, forget about how much you have borrowed, whether you sold your property to contest election, whether there is a godfather or there was a godfather that bankrolled your election. You are rest assured that once you win, you will recoup your investment with huge profit margin. Politics in Nigeria is the most lucrative business, much more than oil and gas, much more than telecoms. That is what this kind of politics of ostentatious lifestyle has encouraged. Let me further break it down for us. Did you know that the moment you win election in Nigeria, your feeding, clothing, accommodation, healthcare is on the state? In the case of former President Muhammadu Buhari, in his 8 years of being president, if you do a cumulative number of days that the president went on medical tourism, it's cumulatively going to be more than 365 days. Yet, his own personal resources is not in whatever he may have incurred in UK or any other place that he has gone for medical tourism. Likewise, his wife, likewise, his children. I cited the example of the Ondo State governor, the incumbent governor of Ondo State, Arakunrin Rotimi Akeredolu. He's gone on medical tourism to Germany for 3 months. He came back. He has not been able to officially resume in Akure. But he's been maintained by the resources of Ondo State. The most shocking one for me was the revelation that that Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu also used the state resources to pay for his election petition tribunal cases. I saw a post by someone that 200 million naira was earmarked for election petition tribunal case. Not only that, there was about, 20 million that was said to have been spent on APC delegate conference or something. Why should it be the Lagos State government that will be sponsoring a delegate conference for the party? When party mobilized its own resources, when party charge nomination fees and expression of interest fees that goes into hundreds of, or if not billions of naira, why should it be the state government that will still be bankrolling some of its meetings? That is part of the abuse. So, coming back to your question of how do we hold them to account, calling them out as we are doing right now is part of holding them to account. The fact that the internet has caught fire since over the weekend when Duarte made that revelation via his ex-handle. And you can see many opinion articles have been written, including the one I wrote. Discussion programs have been held on major TV and radio networks. And of course, the governors are now being made to explain whether truly or falsely, to explain themselves. So that is part of the accountability process. The fact that we refuse to be cowed and to keep quiet is part of holding them to account. This conversation you and I are having is part of holding them to account. Aside from that, one would have expected that the National Assembly, which is the oversighting agencies for the executive and legislative arm, would have done due diligence in passing the appropriation bill to be sure that all this frivolous and hugely bloated budget is pruned down. Unfortunately, the legislative arm is itself compromised. We know what happened at the federal level where was it about 45 billion was spent to procure 160 million naira per unit vehicle for federal lawmakers. That is outside of the 70 billion that they got from the 2022 Supplementary Appropriation Bill that was passed on July 14, 2023, where they also give themselves 70 billion purportedly to renovate the National Assembly complex. We had it on good authority as at yesterday. Somebody called my attention to the fact that huge sums of money has also been earmarked by the leadership of the National Assembly to be shared out to members as Christmas bonus. Where do we go from here? When somebody is contesting for election, the presumption is that he's offering himself or herself for service. But situations where you now use that same office to enrich yourself, I don't want to use the word corruptly enrich yourself, but to enrich yourself at the expense of your constituents, it's not ideal. Because, come to think of it, some of these governors on their own are billionaires. I mean, I know my governor in Oyo State, who in 2019 posited that in his asset declaration form. And I'm not too sure of the amount now, but it's like 46 billion naira worth of assets. That was the claim Governor Seyi Makinde made that is worth. So he's a billionaire. Even in dollars, he would still be a billionaire. But what shocks me is that while these people are on their own very comfortable, why are they still living large on the state resources? Why can't they, of their own accord, say, look, as a sign of solidarity with the poor Nigerian masses, we cannot afford to spend this kind of money on this kind of expenditure or items. That would have made them to have my respect. Even if the state provides for them to have those items, why can't they just go for the basic minimum to reflect the mood of the nation, to show that they are also suffering like us? No, they didn't do that. Rather, about 27 states have life pension scheme in their state laws, which means that by being governor for 4 or 8 years, the state will continue to pay you pension till you die. These are people who in their former life, before they join politics or before they win elections, are already drawing pensions in their previous engagements. Some of them are retired directors, permanent secretaries, head of corporations, you know. They already were earning pension on that. Why then do they still need to have life pension in their state laws? It shows high level of insensitivity. And for that reason, I will enjoy all media channels, both radio, TV, and even the social media, to continue to gaslight these political office holders until they curb their own appetite for luxurious items and ostentatious lifestyles. We cannot continue. Look, what came out of my article yesterday is even the fact that I was able to get data to support the fact that these states where these ostentatious lifestyles are being indulged to political office holders are also heavily indebted. So that is a contradiction. You have Lagos State as number 6 highest indebted state in Nigeria, and you have this same state budgeting frivolous, humongous amount for something that is not basic necessities. The same thing at the federal level. Look at our debt portfolio. If my memory serves me right, it's about 87 trillion. Yet we still have these huge sums of money budgeted for procurement, renovations, and all whatnot. Can't we just sit down and say, look, in sympathy and in solidarity with the ordinary citizen, even if this thing is needed, we can still make do with what we have. Let's share it so that we reduce our debt burden and we are able to deliver dividends of democracy and good governance to the ordinary citizens. Unfortunately, that is not the scenario that is playing out in this country.
Many thanks, Mr. Ojo. Sadly, because of our time, you've spoken extensively and you've highlighted very factual points. I'd just want you to, tell us briefly how do we now begin to, track progress in our various constituencies? How do you put a finger on figures and on how much legislature gets by way of constituency allocation? So how do we track? How do we now begin to get involved and track these progresses?
So budget tracking is being embarked upon by various civil society organizations, and I've also built capacity of quite a number of stakeholders on how to do this governance tracking. I don't know if you are aware, in 2017, Center for Democracy and Development came up with what is called Buhari Meter, where they were tracking the campaign promises of former President Muhammadu Buhari and implementation. I've also built capacity of Nigerian women to track the governance and performance of Osun and Ekiti State after the off-cycle election last year. Now, we may do our own bit as civil society, we may do our own bit as media practitioners, but the ball is in the court of public opinion and the citizens. The office of the citizen is the highest office in the land. We cannot afford to continue to indulge these political office holders to continue to live large on our behalf when we have high level of poverty, high level of unemployment, high level of infrastructural deficit, when we cannot sleep with our eyes closed, with high level of insecurity. These are things that constitutionally are supposed to be paramount. May I cite this, that section 14 subsection 2B of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as altered said, and I quote, that security and welfare of citizens shall be the primary purpose of government. Now, are we seeing sufficient security? Are we seeing sufficient welfare? I just told you what is reported in one of the dailies today, that the 210 billion that was initially earmarked for payment of 35,000 naira wage award has been slashed by half and put elsewhere. It then shows that welfare of workers is not even taken as paramount. And that's why we continue to have high level of restiveness across the country. But we will not give up. The most important thing is that there are structural ways by which you can hold government to account. Even as media practitioner, Section 22 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria tasks media practitioners to hold government to account, which is part of what we are doing right now. So there are different modalities, methodologies, structures to hold government to account, but none so deaf as those who will not hear.
Many thanks, Mr. Ojo. We've been speaking with Mr. Ojo, who is a development consultant and public affairs analyst. Many thanks for joining us on the program. Sadly, that's how much we can take. So please don't forget to follow us at Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. Bye for now.